Now, to be able to catch the apples, we need to be able to detect collision. And I've got two built-in collision detection inside the template here. Now, yes, Phaser does have its own collision detection if you're using one of the physics libraries. But I'm not using physics at the moment. And it's still nice to be able to have the old-fashioned ways to do these. And I've got two different ones in here. One is called overlap, and one is called by distance. Now, what the overlap does is every sprite or image has a bounding box, as you can see here in the blue. What it does is compares those two bounding boxes to see if the rectangles overlap. Sometimes with round objects, though, that doesn't work very well, because if you had two apples, for example, the bounding box is overlapping, but they're not. So we can use by distance. It takes the distance between the two, not the x distance, the y distance, but a combination of the two using a bit of trigonometry, which I won't get into too much here, but it is in the utility collision detection if you want to take a look at that code. And that's the one we're going to be using right now. So when we make the apple up here in main, let's make a group called this apple group. This apple group equals game add group. And then when we make a new apple, this apple group add apple. Then we can loop through that group down here in the update statement, this apple group for each. And then we put an anonymous function inside there, which is a function without a name. And for every item inside there, it will call this function. And we can call the parameter inside that function apple, because it will pass that child to the function. In this case, it's going to be an apple. And I need to bind the function to this scope. Otherwise, it will have its own scope, and you won't be able to use the this keyword inside of there. And so we'll use our collision detection here, and it is a static method. So we call that by saying collision by dist. And then we pass it the two objects. One is the apple, and the other is the basket. And then we need a distance. And what we're going to do is use the apple's width divided by 2. And what that is going to do is return a Boolean, a true or a false. And we'll just call it isHit. So if isHit equals true, for testing right now, we'll just say apple visible equals false. So if isHit equals true. Okay, let's run that and see where we are. Now, it's not going to care right now if it's an apple or a bomb. Now, it seems to be only working on the edge there. And I think the reason it is working on the edge is that we did not center the basket image inside the sprite. So we'll say this basket anchor set 0.5, 0.5, because it is taking the distance from over here at the side rather than in the middle of the basket where we want it. So if you see now when we refresh, it's off the screen because the basket was at 0. So now the halfway on the basket is at the 0 position. There we go. And now it's able to catch them.